Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're plunging into a truly fascinating and often pretty controversial realm, the timeless principles of power,
Yeah.
specifically from Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah, and it's important to say up front, this isn't really a guide to morality, is it? It's more a sharp, kind of unvarnished look at human behavior throughout history.
Right, how power is gained, kept, lost.
Exactly. And our mission here, in this deep dive is really to pull out the key nuggets from the source material, give you a shortcut to understanding these pretty intricate dynamics without it feeling overwhelming.
Exactly. Think of it like a toolkit, maybe, for navigating human interaction, whether
Yeah.
you're prepping for a meeting or maybe catching up on a new field, or you're just, insanely curious about the levers that move the world. We'll unpack some surprising facts, just enough history to keep you hooked. Okay, let's get into it. So, maybe the place to start is one of the most fundamental ideas the source highlights, this strategic use of appearance. Even deception, it sort of pushes back against that old saying, honesty is always the best policy.
Right. What's fascinating is how the source puts it. It suggests that one sincere and honest move will cover over dozens of dishonest ones. And even that honesty itself is, well, a blunt instrument, which bloodies more than it cuts.
Wow. Okay.
So the idea is that perceived honesty, selective honesty, can be this really effective tool. It disarms people.
So you mean using it like a Trojan horse to get past someone's defenses? How does that actually work? Can you give an example?
Absolutely. A classic one is Count Victor Lustig's con on Al Capone. Now, Lustig knew Capone was deeply mistrustful, like pathologically suspicious.
Right, you'd have to be.
So instead of a straight con, Lustig starts by appearing to fail at one. He actually gives Capone his money back, pretending he made a mistake, acting all sincere about it.
No.
Yeah. And this calculated act, this apparent sincerity, it completely disarmed Capone, even someone that's suspicious. It just shows, that surprising gesture of transparency can catch anyone off guard.
That's incredible. So the real power move is using that human tendency to trust what seems genuine.
Precisely. To bypass their normal defenses.
Okay, so once you've maybe disarmed someone like that, how do these masters of power then actually manipulate perception or, use someone's own psychology against them?
Well, that leads us straight into Law 21.
Yeah.
Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
Seem dumber.
Yeah. The key insight here is vanity. It's one of the most powerful human motivators, right? So if you make your target feel smarter than you,
Ah, okay.
then you eliminate their suspicion. They're too busy feeling superior to think you might have ulterior motives.
Right, right. Can you give us an example where that kind of psychological leverage really made a difference?
Sure. There's a great historical one involving these U.S. financiers, Harpending and Ralston, and some diamond prospectors, Arnold and Slack. So these prospectors find a diamond field. Huge discovery. But the financiers, Harpending and Ralston, they deliberately downplay how valuable it really is.
Ah,
They even sort of warn the prospectors, saying, watch out for unscrupulous tycoons, implying other people might cheat them if they held onto shares.
oh, clever.
Yeah, and they subtly suggest they'd be smarter to take a smaller, immediate buyout, about $700,000.
Which probably seemed like a lot.
Exactly. So the prospectors, feeling clever for taking what looks like a quick, safe profit, they happily sign away the rights, completely unaware of the true massive worth the financiers knew about and planned to exploit. Their own ego, feeling smart, was their downfall.
Wow. And it's not just about seeming dumber, is it? The source also talks about outright hiding your real long-term intentions, even from people you work with.
Absolutely. Look at Otto von Bismarck. The source calls him a master of strategy and deception.
Right. German unification.
Yeah. He achieved his goals by being, as the source says, completely insincere and sending misleading signals. He never showed his real hand, his overarching plan. Even when most Prussians were itching for war immediately, he held back.
Why?
He let people take the appearance for reality. Let them focus on the immediate stuff while his eyes were fixed on the bigger, long-term prize. The point is, an undisclosed master plan is just much less vulnerable. People can't attack what they don't see coming.
Okay, so managing perception is step one. Then really understanding what makes people tick, that seems like the next logical step. How do these power players go beyond just appearances to actually, influence others?
Indeed. And this connects really well to Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude.
Okay, that sounds pretty cynical.
It's pragmatic, maybe. The core idea is that people get enthusiastic, they respond when they see something in it for themselves.
Right.
Think about the Athenians trying to get Corsair as an ally. They didn't appeal to shared history or, poor us, help us out.
No. What did they do?
They focused entirely on how the alliance with Athens would add to their power, Corsair's power.
Hmm.
They spoke directly to Corsair's self-interest. Abandon Corinth. Join us. Become stronger.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about times when direct self-interest isn't obvious? Are there, nuances to this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a subtle but really important point the source makes. Sometimes, especially for people who want to feel virtuous or superior, it's not about direct gain. It's about giving them a chance to display their good heart, maybe through public charity or some grand gesture. The source says this can actually intoxicate them.
So you're still appealing to self-interest, just a different kind, their interest in looking good.
Exactly. It's a psychological self-interest.
This deeper understanding, then, it extends to finding an individual's specific weaknesses. The source has a term for this, the thumbscrew.
That's the one. Law 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. And this weakness, it could be anything. An insecurity, an emotion they can't control, a deep need, maybe a secret pleasure. Once you find it, that's your leverage point. Because it gives you a handle, a way to control their reactions.
Can you give us a couple of really compelling examples? Someone finding and, using a thumbscrew.
Sure. There's a story of the Hollywood agent Irving Lazar and the studio head Jack Warner. Warner was 80, apparently very vain, and hated being seen naked.
Okay. Where is this going?
Lazar cornered him in a spa, both naked. He knew Warner would be incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
So to get Lazar and his persistent pitch out of there as fast as possible, Warner just quickly said yes to the deal. It was the easiest way to escape the embarrassment. Lazar used Warner's vanity and discomfort.
That's ruthless. And the other example?
Catherine de' Medici and her flying squadron, basically she used attractive maids of honor. Their job was to seduce powerful male courtiers, find out their secrets, their weaknesses.
And report back to her.
Exactly. Exploiting their desires for her own control. The insight is, you don't always need brute force if you understand what truly motivates or unsettles someone.
So, if finding a thumbscrew is about that direct leverage, how does that scale up? How does it translate into, say, broader, more lasting influence over a whole group, or even an enemy?
Well, that leads us right into Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others.
Okay.
The key insight here is pretty profound, actually. Coercion, force, it breeds resentment. Compliance might be temporary, but it's fragile.
Right. People push back eventually.
Exactly. But seduction, and here seduction means understanding individual psychologies, appealing to deeper needs that fosters genuine loyalty, lasting peace.
What's a classic example of that kind of long-term strategy working?
A really great one is from ancient China. The strategist Zhuge Liang facing the barbarian king Menguo.
Okay, Liang again?
Yes, he pops up a lot. Instead of just crushing Menguo in battle and taking his territory, Liang did something unusual. He deliberately allowed Menguo to be captured and then released him 7 times.
7 times?
Right.
Why?
It was all about winning his heart, not just the city. He wanted lasting peace in the south so he could focus elsewhere. One of Liang's advisors apparently said, "It is better to win hearts than cities. Better to battle with hearts than with weapons."
So breaking his spirit through kindness almost, or respect.
Something like that. Building allegiance through understanding and, psychological mastery, rather than just pure subjugation. True conquest for Liang was loyalty.
Okay, so once you understand how to influence people individually or collectively, how do you position yourself? Strategically. The source has some counterintuitive advice about commitment, right?
Yeah, this one's fascinating. Law 20. Do not commit to anyone.
Right, commit.
The core idea is that if you maintain your independence, you actually become the master.
Yeah.
You make others pursue you. The source implies the fool is the one who rushes to pick a side and then gets locked in, beholden to that side.
But doesn't that risk making you seem fleeky or isolating yourself? People might not trust your allegiance.
It's definitely a calculated risk. But the argument is the benefit often outweighs that risk. Think about Henry Kissinger during the Nixon and Ford years. Really turbulent times.
Watergate and all that.
Kissinger survived, even thrived, because he never seemed too much of a Nixon man. He kept a certain distance. So when others, who were maybe more obviously loyal, got fired.
Kissinger stayed.
Exactly. His aloofness, as the Soviet calls it, made him powerful. Everyone wanted him on their side, but nobody really felt like they owned him. The idea is to become the prize everyone competes for.
That detachment you mentioned, it also seems to connect to this idea of being elusive. or formless. Tell us about that one.
Precisely. That's Law 48. Assume formlessness.
Yeah.
The critical insight. A fixed plan, a visible strategy. Well, that invites attack. It's predictable.
So you should be like water.
Exactly like water. Fluid, adaptable, constantly shifting your strategy. Think about the difference between chess and the game of Go, or Wei Qi, as it's called in China. Chess is pretty linear, aggressive, head-on. Go is much more non-linear, fluid. It's about encirclement, paralysis, not just direct confrontation. It values mobility over fixed positions.
Okay.
Mao Zedong used this brilliantly. His jigsaw pattern of guerrilla warfare against the nationalists. His strategy seemed completely formless to them.
And that worked?
It disoriented them, terrified them. They collapsed, partly because they just couldn't grasp what he was doing, where he'd strike next.
And what's the danger of not being formless? The opposite.
Well, look at ancient Sparta. They built this incredibly rigid system, sacrificed all mobility for safety and structure.
Which sounds strong.
But eventually it led to their downfall against the more fluid, adaptable Athenians. The source puts it clearly. People weighed down by a system and inflexible ways of doing things cannot move fast, cannot sense or adapt to change. Formlessness is about being unpredictable, resilient.
Ultimately, then, it seems like perception, how you're seen, and timing,
Yeah.
they can make or break everything. What does the source say about reputation specifically?
Oh, reputation is huge. Law 5. So much depends on reputation guarded with your life. It's presented as basically the cornerstone of power.
The cornerstone.
Yeah. The idea is that your reputation alone can be a weapon. It can scare off enemies, attract allies, often much more effectively than anything you actually do.
How powerful can a reputation realistically be? Give us an example.
Okay, think P.T. Barnum. Early days, trying to make it as a showman. He had no money, no reputation.
Right. The ultimate underdog.
So what does he do? He strategically ruins the reputation of his rival, Peale's Museum, runs a newspaper campaign against them.
Seriously?
Yeah. Causes their stock to plummet. And then he swoops in and acquires their museum, the American Museum. Used reputation warfare.
Wow. Okay, another one.
Zhuge Liang again.
Oh,
Sleeping Dragon.
yeah.
His reputation was legendary. There's a story where he's in a city with almost no soldiers, gates wide open. A massive enemy army under Sima Yi approaches.
He's done for.
You'd think. But Liang just sits calmly on the city wall, playing his lute. Sima Yi sees this, knows Liang's reputation for cunning traps.
And retreats.
He assumes it must be an ambush. Liang's reputation alone, his perceived calmness, was enough to defeat a vastly superior force without lifting a finger. That's the power of reputation.
Incredible. Okay, and related to reputation and perception, knowing when to stop, especially after a win. That sounds hard. Momentum feels good.
It does, but this raises a really critical point. Managing that dangerous moment of victory. That's Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop.
Why is victory dangerous?
Because success breeds arrogance, overconfidence. It pushes you past your original goal, maybe makes you grab for too much. And in doing so, you create more enemies than you needed to, potentially undermining the very victory you just won.
Can you illustrate that delicate balance?
Think about Cyrus the Great's victory over the Masajatai. He beat them, lured them into a trap using a feast and wine, captured their general. Strategic win. But he stopped there. He achieved his specific goal. He didn't pursue, say, total annihilation of every last Massagetto warrior, which could have dragged on, sparked wider resistance, maybe revenge from their allies down the line.
So he consolidated the win instead of overreaching.
Exactly. He recognized the mark he aimed for and stopped. It's about the efficiency of power, conserving energy, not just maximum destruction. Know when you've won what you set out to win.
Right. Okay, finally, let's talk about things that seem free. The source has a view on this, right?
It does. Law 40. Despise the free lunch.
Despise it. Strong word.
Well, the core insight is that anything offered for free, it often comes with a hidden cost, a trick, an obligation you didn't realize you were taking on, a subtle loss of your independence.
The no such thing as a free lunch idea.
Pretty much. Paying your own way, the source argues, keeps you free from gratitude, or worse, deceit. You maintain control.
So it's about avoiding those unseen strings.
Exactly. There's a legalist mentioned, Yusuf ibn Jafar el-Amudi. He explained why he charged students for knowledge. It wasn't greed, he said. It ensured they actually valued the teaching more, and it avoided what he called the gravest obligation, receiving something for nothing.
Interesting. There's a Japanese saying, isn't there? Something like, nothing is more costly than something given free.
That perfectly captures it. But Flip side, strategic generosity can also be a power move.
How so?
Look at Baron de Rothschild in Paris. He spent absolutely astounding sums on these lavish parties for the French upper classes.
Just throwing money away.
It looked like waste, but it was deliberate. He needed to overcome their deep mistrust of his new money. By spending lavishly, showing he valued their culture, their society, he essentially bought their acceptance, secured his social standing, and ultimately his power. It wasn't free for him, but his generosity created a subtle obligation, or at least goodwill, in others.
We've definitely navigated some pretty impactful and, yeah, sometimes unsettling insights into power dynamics from the 48 Laws of Power. What seems clear is these laws aren't really about ethics, are they? They're more like sharp observations of human nature when influence is the goal, regardless of morality.
Right. It's about understanding the hidden gears, the subtle levers, the motivations people don't always admit to, and the long-term ripple effects of actions in a strategic game. Critical thinking is absolutely key here. Don't just take things at face value.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? Whether you're thinking about a negotiation or maybe navigating office politics or even just trying to make sense of the news, recognizing these patterns, these dynamics, it can make you more aware, more strategic maybe. Better prepared, at least, to anticipate and navigate complex situations when they arise.
And here's a final thought to chew on. If, as the source claims, all human interaction requires deception on many levels, what does that really suggest about trust, about sincerity in our relationships, and maybe how much power dynamics are truly shaping our daily interactions, even when we're not consciously aware of it? Something to ponder, perhaps, long after this deep dive ends.